'Tis I, Mysidia, and I'm back to talk about another War of the Visions unit. This time, it's an ice gunner called Alaya Rundall, and she's featured heavily in the story right now. So if you're up to date, that's awesome. If you're not, then you need to catch up because she's got a great voice actor. She's got a very, very suiting voice. I like it a lot. Very unique, very cool. So we're going to talk a lot about Alaya today, about who she's strong against, who she's weak against, some other information about her, some unit comparisons, and then I'll tell you whether or not you should pull for her, but really it's your call, but I'll still tell you. Let's start by talking about who is she going to be strong against, and honestly, everyone, yeah, because Ice is really good. Ice is one of the best team compositions you can have right now because Snow and Velis are such a good core, and then you can just put a third on there, which is typically Eliza, and you're good to go. You're ready to roll. With Alaya, you're going to be a little bit more expensive in terms of cost, but that's going to work out just fine in most types of content aside from limited content. So this is going to be like the Ice team that we see a lot of, Snow, Velis, and Alaya, and they're going to be able to take out most teams in the game. Now, there are specifically units that Alaya is strong against. Now, wind units obviously will be a big strength for her, but I also think that she's going to be strong against Halloween Lucia. Now, you might have heard with Agrius, with some other units like Chunak, they have barrier breaks that also dispel protect. And that's really strong against Halloween Lucia. Now, Alaya has both of those things. They're on separate skills, but still having a barrier break is a really big deal. Even if you're attacking into Halloween Lucia's strongest resistance, which is missile, it's still like a good spot to be in to be able to break that barrier. So we love to see that. She's also going to be strong against the light evade teams, which we don't really see that often, but we do see them in limited guild battle quite a bit. The caveat here is that you have to build her for accuracy, which is a really easy job for Alaya because her accuracy is already quite high. So it's not a huge deal to build her for accuracy. And she does have a 100% hit if you use the Ranger sub, so you have that option as well, but she should be a good way to take on the light evade. She could also take on the Dark Squad, and specifically, I'm thinking about teams with Dark Fina, and the reason that I say that is because she has a re-raise dispel, and Dark Fina applies re-raise, and we also see lots of re-raise from the Halloween Ryu TMR. So I think that she'll be able to help out taking on that kind of Joker, Leela, Fina team. Her AoEs, her penetrations are going to be really important, and with Joker, that barrier break will be important as well. So those, but at the end of the day, she's going to be good against everything. That's what we said, right? Now, I will say there's a few areas where she's going to be weaker, and the number one is against, you guessed it, fire units, and specifically fire magic units. So Terra is a no-go. Stay away from Terra. Stay away from Classy Glassy, who you're not going to see anyway. Let's face it, these units aren't anywhere to be found. That was the funniest comeback about my water dig the other video, where people are like, water has it the worst because there's no fire to pick on, whereas every other element gets to pick a matchup that's favorable. Water never gets to do that. I thought that was pretty funny and a pretty good comeback. Now, another element that I would watch out for would be lightning. And that's because you have Esther and Lightning the unit, and both of them have quite high missile resistance, and that's going to be something that Eliza can penetrate, but still, you're fighting probably your most missile resistant team there, aside from like Raldor that's built for missile and ice resist. So really, that's probably your weakest matchup, but again, you don't really have a weak matchup because this Ice team is going to be so good against the field. Next, we'll talk about pros and cons for Alaya. The first set of pros I'll talk about are the damage capabilities that she has. So we're talking about 40% missile pen on her TP skill, and then 40% defense pen on a passive, with 30 more defense penetration on her frozen shotgun skill, which will give 3 turns of defense penetration. So what we're seeing here is, in an ideal open, she will be able to reach some pretty high levels of defense penetration, especially given that the gun that's going to come out will have defense penetration. If you have the FF15 gun, you also have access to defense penetration. So with Trust Stones included, we're talking about getting to 100% defense penetration, but that's only if she uses frozen shotgun. She also has a missile resistance imperil, a ice imperil, and like we said already, she can dispel protect and barrier break for any physical barrier. So these are a lot of things that will contribute to Alaya doing a lot of damage. We can also talk about Alaya's utility, which is pretty massive. It's my biggest list in this video. So she has AP consumption down, but I think she also has some AP rate up. She has a self move down, which is a passive, to decrease her move by 1. It means that you don't have to use the producer's bow tie to decrease her movement to 2 move per match. And that is something that it's pretty much a given that you're going to be using that on someone like Satya. So with Alaya, that's a really nice option to have without giving up an equipment slot. She also has a range increase that takes effect not by a certain amount of turns. It doesn't wear off after 3 turns. It wears off after you've taken damage 2 times. So if you don't get hit, she has range up for the whole match, which is a really big deal. She has a self CT recovery. It's a big CT recovery. She's got the 100% hit we talked about. Re-raise removal we already talked about. Physical reflex. And multiple chaining skills. So she's going to be good in PvE as well. It really is pretty impressive. The chaining skill is on her barrier break, so it's not like multiple ways to break barriers, but she also gets some chaining on another skill as well. So that's pretty good. And then finally for pros, she has a bunch of status effects. So she's got Charm, she's got Frostbite, which Frostbite for her has an increased chance to land. Frostbite is really good now because the AP loss happens at the beginning of your turn and then you can't gain AP on your turn. So it can really shut down an opponent that didn't have a really big first AP gathering turn, or if they haven't even gone yet, then they're just totally hooped. Immobilize is also a solid thing to have on an LB, no less. And then if you want to mess with Poison Shot on the Ranger sub, you could mess with Poison. We're going to talk about cons next, but before that, it's our regular reminder in the middle of the video to like the video. So if you made it this far, I appreciate it if you're able to like the video and maybe write a comment about, if you are going to be pulling for Alaya, or, if you have any other insight on Alaya that you want to share with everybody. I think that would be a great reason to comment. Now, with a unit like Alaya, there's not a lot of cons. She's just that good. She's a really solid unit. The one thing I would say is that she doesn't have arcing shots like Jayden on her main job. Now, she does have access to the Ranger sub, so she can use some arcing high range height shots. Otherwise, a lot of her really good attacks are all those straight line gun shots, and that does make a difference. It is a bit of weakness. It means if your team's in the way, if the map's really wonky, it's going to affect you. The other con, it's not even a con, it's more like that she's weak to magic attacks. That's something you have to watch out for. It's the thing that's going to kill her. But then again, she is a ranged unit, so she is generally squishy. But the fact that she has physical reflex specifically means that if you're looking to take her out on an ice team and you're using a magic unit, that's going to be an effective way to do that. It's also going to be one of the more effective ways to take out Snow. So if you're looking to take on Alaya and Snow, then a magic unit or set of magic units will likely be a good choice. Now I'm going to compare Alaya to Jayden and Eliza, and I think Eliza is pretty obvious. They're both ice missile units, and we can see how they stack up. Jayden I chose because he is a 100 cost gunner unit, and we could have chosen someone like Satya, but I thought this was a good comparison just to show how much units have been pushed since Jayden came out. Now Jayden's not bad, and he's got that better range kit in terms of being able to shoot over things with his gunner attacks, but Alaya has so much more in terms of damage capability, because I already mentioned that she has the 40% defense penetration, the 40% missile pen on a TP skill, and then way more defense penetration on the way, plus all of the imperils. When you look at Jayden, he just has 30% missile pen on drill shot, and he's not even going to use drill shot unless somebody's actually in a straight line space for him to attack. So it's much more likely that he uses his arcing shots first. He has 40% spirit penetration, and he has a barrier break, but that's it. Right? Jayden doesn't have a lot going on. Eliza's going to have way more ways to burst through and deal some damage. Now, Alaya Eliza is a lot closer to Alaya. She's got some Missile Pen innate on her kit. She doesn't have to cast anything. She has 50% more on Clean Piercer. She has 40% defense penetration on a passive, just like Alaya does. She even has an Ice Imperil. She has a defense break. She has a Missile Imperil as well. It's on her counter though, so it's kind of different. And she has Dispel, Protect, and Shell. So at the end of the day, they are similar, but what you can see illustrated here, that Alaya has more penetration. She's got more penetration than all of her competition, and therefore is going to deal more damage specifically against people with high missile resistance, high defense, and the fact that she can imperil missile resistance, she can imperil ice element, is going to help your whole team out. I mean, her and Eliza together are going to be a really scary combination, as long as you have a tank that keeps them both out of danger. So that's going to be a pretty short and sweet, easy decision here. It's a strong ice unit, one of the strongest we've got. Basically, yeah, that's a good unit to be pulling for, but she's not a limited unit. So really, it's up to you. Do you want to improve your ice account? Maybe you're a really strong ice player already and you want to put it over the top. Great, you can go pull for her. Or maybe you want to make ice more of a threat on your account. Then she's going to be a perfect way to do that. But you do have to balance that you could get her later on through tickets or maybe just by luck. And that's a decision that you have to make. But if you're wondering if she's going to make an impact in the game, then yes, she's going to make an impact on the game. I know that these tier sites aren't everything, but Alaya is rated very highly in JP, one of the highest rated units in the game. And that doesn't mean nothing, right? She's a very popular unit. She's a very powerful unit, and you will be happy if you pull for her. So if you had to ask me in a vacuum if you would pull for her, then yeah, she's a good unit, good recommendation for a lot of players, but it's very specific to your account, and you have to know whether or not this would be a good addition for you. Now, if you're wondering about me personally, I have thought about it because I have been dabbling in ice. I have snow, and I'm building up Eliza right now. I have Velis as well. I'm not going to be doing it because I am ever saving for a surprise fire unit that may not even come, but that's just the way that I roll. So I just have to kind of live with it and skip units like these, but I'm really happy doing that because I'm a very patient man. Otherwise, that's going to be it for me. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next War of the Visions video.